It's the Full Force News Burst, proudly brought to you by Battle Action Force, the Treasury editions. I am your host, Christopher McLeod, AKA Diagnostic 80. Now let's get into the news. Hello, Full Force indeed. Hope everyone is doing well on this week 4 of Yojoe June, or no Joe June, as everyone keeps saying. But that's technically not true because we've had something every week. We have had something every week, guys. That's absolutely for sure, for certain. The only thing I think everyone just expects name onlys, renders, and pre-orders every single week in Yojoe June. That might have been what they needed. They should have just spread out one pre-order every week. So something was happening at least. In any case, yes, we're talking week 4 of Yojoe June today. We have Rattler unboxing, as I said was going to happen last week. I said it was happening, and it happened. Rattler unboxing. The HASLab, there was a tease, and the full reveal will be happening next week. Now, is that a Wednesday? Is it a Monday? I mean, June finishes on Monday, doesn't it? Monday's the last day of June, so it's possible. It's very possible that it could be Monday that we get the HASLab reveal, but they might just keep this Wednesday thing going, even though it's technically out of the Yojoe June purview at that point. But yeah, we'll hopefully be getting a tease. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on. We've got lots to get into, actually, because not only was there a Rattler unboxing, there was an Overwatch 2 official announcement, because that kind of crept up last week, and then we talked about that, we reported on it, and they had a proper full official trailer dropped today, and then an interview between Wizards of the Coast and Blizzard. That was interesting. I'm trying to think of, there aren't really any Wizard code names in Yojoe, but Blizzard is a code name. And yeah, so there was a little bit of an interview there, and we got some sort of like little bit of description of the concept art and the process, but not a great deal. It was all very surface level, I've got to admit. But we did get a little bit there on Overwatch, but we also got reveals on everything that's going to be in Overwatch 2 G.I. Joe related, so we'll talk about that as well. The other massive bit of news, which we'll get into first, and I'll segue into the beginning of this particular news burst because I think that works perfectly, right? Did I put this first? That's a good question, because I'm going to have to look and see what I did for the first. No, I didn't. So I'm going to have to do some like absolute ninjutsu when it comes to the graphics here, aren't I? Okay, well, let's do it. I'm going to start talking about a possible animated series in the works. Let's do it. I didn't get there in time, did I? I'm still moving. Still didn't get there in time. I'm going through all of the graphics now. I just didn't have enough time in the background. There we go. This is what I wanted to put on the screen, but I didn't have enough time to do so. Anyway, there you go, guys. The professionalism that is the Full Force podcast. Right. So I want to start with this because, again, it would have segued perfectly, but if I'd have realized I was talking about it next, but I wasn't. Yeah. So Bleeding Cool posted a little bit of gossip or rumor regarding the fact that Robert Kirkman may or may not have sold a Transformers and G.I. Joe cartoon series. Now, this is information that comes from, and well, obviously, Bleeding Cool, they have broken stories in the past that have been true. They did reveal that IDW were losing the Transformers and G.I. Joe license way before that was announced. They also reported on the fact that Skybound are going to be taking it over before that was known. Although that was sort of like the worst kept secret in the industry for a while. And this is really just to give people an idea of the source here. But like I said, there's been stories in the past where Bleeding Cool have 100% dropped that info early, and the gossip, I say gossip, but it says in here, and this is like a quote I've gotten the nod from senior industry sources. Now that could mean anything, really, couldn't it? But it sounds official. But again, like I said, there's precedent for getting, especially Skybound, GI Joe, Transformers related things, spot on. So basically, what they're saying is that Robert Kirkman's Skybound Entertainment's next big news is that they have sold a new Transformers GI Joe shared universe animated streaming series that includes Transformers, GI Joe, and Void Rivals. Now, obviously, this would be based on the current Energon universe comic books that Skybound publishes through Image Comics. Kirkman and Skybound have form in this regard, as they are behind The Walking Dead and Invincible. So there's a lot of things. I mean, we've talked. This is the funny thing. I've talked about this very recently with Justin Bell, with Pat on the Weekly, with also Mark and Tim. Actually, I think I might have spoken to them about this on Talking Joe, about the fact that being at Skybound doesn't just necessarily mean you're just going to get comics, does it? The fact that they've got that background in entertainment does offer another level here. And it definitely pushes it into a more likely scenario than just a rumor or just gossip. Now, I'm not saying, I will say as well, we don't have any other information that would confirm or deny this. We are literally reporting on this particular story. I have no clue about what's going on at Skybound, what's going on at Paramount, what's going on at wherever, Netflix, or where else, Amazon. What else do they do on Invincible's on Amazon, isn't it? But you know what I mean? I don't have any connections in any of those sort of areas. So in terms of this is us reporting on this, but also me adding a bit of conjecture where I feel that there's definitely, where there's smoke, there's probably fire in this case. I just think that this has got a lot of legitimacy. I think this is a possibility. I think this is more than a possibility, and I wouldn't be surprised if Robert Kirkman has actually already pitched, and maybe even successfully pitched, a streaming service to somebody. It doesn't say in the article like where that has been sold, but I don't think so anyway. So no, and I'm just kind of looking at it again, but no, there's nowhere that it says exactly where it has been sold. That said, it does state in the article by Rich Johnston of Bleeding Cool that they like to reveal things in this regard at SDCC, and with that just around the corner, we could be in for a reveal, or at least a this is the situation, a bit of news, a bit of kind of an update officially from them regarding this. Who knows at this point? Maybe this particular story breaking right before SDCC might have made them change their minds a little bit. Who knows? Chris G says it would be either AMC or Amazon if you base it off Walking Dead and Invincible. Absolutely, but you never know. They may have sold it somewhere else. But it makes sense that if that's what they've already got, like if they've already got their, if they've already they've already got those fingers in that particular pie, gross. Then yeah, I absolutely agree with that for sure. But it could be pretty much anywhere at this point. We don't know. That said, I definitely think there's something to this, and I would be really excited for Skybound's involvement in this, because what they have produced entertainment-wise has been pretty amazing. Like huge fandoms behind it all, successful, very entertaining. Definitely an element of maturity in a lot of the stuff they've done. I just read Shelf Presence comment there, and I just saw maturity, but I didn't read the whole comment. But maturity, as I was saying the words, maturity jumped in as I saw what you'd written there. This is awesome. Hope it's resolute level of maturity is what you've said there, Shelf Presence. Yeah, so I think it's definitely gonna be in that sort of more, edgy element, which is what the Skybound comics have kind of been so far. It ain't like straight comedy all the way through. It's not like slapstick. It can be dark, it can be gritty, it whatever. And yeah, I'd also state on that one, a lot of people talking about Invincible. That is again, it's dark, but not in visually. It's very bright, very engaging, very comic-like looking in its visuals, but it has got a very dark undertone in its content and mature as well. Definitely not for kids. So I definitely think it would be a great thing to do, to at least attempt to see what we could be getting here, because I think this could be really cool. Now, I should also say this doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen, but like I said, Bleeding Cool have broken stories of this regard in the past and well in advance, and they have led to that exact outcome. So I don't know. I'm kind of looking at this going, I'm gonna be glued to SDCC. I can tell you that much. I am going to be watching SDCC very closely from a distance, of course, but absolutely making sure I'm not missing out on anything, especially on the Skybound panels, the Hasbro panels, anything that's going on. I'm going to be trying to keep it on top of it. That said, very excited with that first bit of news. Now, I'm going to explode again just to see if I've got enough time to quickly rinse up to the other story, which is Overwatch. Yeah, I had time. Yeah, so Overwatch has been revealed as well. So this was the first sort of Yojoe June week 4 sort of video that they dropped. And I was kind of like, I must admit, I didn't have any idea when the Rattler unboxing was going to be happening. I thought it was going to be dropping at 11. And actually, for one moment, I thought, oh, I bet they drop it earlier, because they have done that in the past as well with an unboxing or like a vehicle-based thing or even a HasLab reveal. I remember them dropping a video in the morning, like 10 or something, 9 or 10 Eastern. So I was kind of, keeping an eye on the socials, on YouTube, kept refreshing Hasbro Pulse's YouTube channel. And then, yeah, lo and behold, we got nothing at 11. And I don't think I've seen a more... I don't think I've seen an angrier response to something not going up at 11 o'clock in my entire life. The fact that we got like a couple of videos today, like we've got like a few things happening with the G.I. Joe brand, and one of them was something we fully expected. I was really surprised at the reaction of everyone. I was in message groups, I was in online or everywhere, and everyone I was seeing comments were just like, effing Hasbro this, Yojoe June let us down, all this, no Joe June let us down. And I was like, just give it a second. The day's not over yet. There's at no point have they stated that something's going up officially. I just knew there was going to be a Rattler unboxing, but I didn't know the time. I just assumed 11 because of the usual, precedent, as I like to use as a term. But I was happy that it did go up, because I was getting to the point where I'm like, geez, man, this is intense. People are getting like super mad about this, and I don't know. I find it quite. I find it quite interesting more than anything. Now I know like a lot of us would love to see new reveals all the time. We got a fan stream at the start of the month, and it wasn't like was it like the 9 to 12 pre-orders we've had in the past for live events, and that's the high end. They're not as many anymore for streams. And again, we had pre-orders, and then we had pre-orders again the next week. I know we didn't get a fan stream, which I think is what people were most upset about, and I was too. I was like, but more disappointed, just like, oh, that's a shame. But like 2 lots of pre-orders we got. Technically the reveals we got were then kind of revealed for the pre-order the next week, if that makes sense. So we do have we don't have many like renders left. We've got like 3 left, don't we? And we don't have a lot of name only reveals necessarily. But for me, I'm just kind of thinking we'll probably get something like we'll probably get something at SDCC again in terms of the name onlys and the digital renders and stuff. And who knows, they might drop a ton because they've done that at SDCC quite a lot. So I'm not like 100% sure as to the meltdown necessarily for Yojoe June, because again, it's one fan stream that got nuked and we still got all the product out of it. I would say there was definitely a huge problem with communication, which a lot of people have mentioned in here. I agree. I think that just saying see you every week and not really giving anyone like a little heads up or anything like that. And I think again, this all really is only about the fan stream that got nuked, because that was the situation that really kind of boiled the most urine. Like the cancellation of it on Facebook, which really was like, if like you got to do more than that, guys. You've got to actually tell people. And then that kind of like very simple, very quick, very I'll have to say half-hearted. I almost said half-hearted attempt at the kind of like, oh, the fan stream's been cancelled, by the way, sorry. And then not to tell us that we're going to be pre-orders anyway was mental. That was just mental. So I think that, yeah, I think but honestly, if they'd communicated it, I think people would have been PO'd. That said, there was, yeah, I don't, it wasn't going to be a fan stream every week, that's for sure. But it was only really video updates, is what was said in that first fan stream. But then they said there was going to be another fan stream, so it's like you get all excited. You think, oh, it's just going to be fan streams forever. So yeah, I think we have to look at the month and take stock of what actually came out of it. 2, definitely lessons have to be learned from this, I think 100% in just a communications kind of way, because yes, I think a lot of things were very last minute. It felt that way anyway. Last minute kind of like decisions to kind of like, change stuff or whatever. So I definitely think that should have been handled completely differently. But then again, I would also state there's probably been a lot of feedback. I would say they've certainly seen the feedback on how that was all handled and how it all went down. So I would probably, and I'd say, with all due respect, I'd also say that, what lessons need to be learned at this point when we're like 5 years into the brand. That's another point I want to make, because yes, things can always be improved on. That nothing's ever perfect, and some things or not everything always goes to plan, especially when certain things happen, certain current events happen that throw things off. I get that too. But I think communication is one of the main things. They have a very good tool at their disposal in social media. It's where everybody is. We're all sitting there waiting for things to happen. All that I think needs to happen in those scenarios is a little bit more tact, honestly, a little bit more like, this is what the situation is. Have no fear. We'll be back next week for this. We've got a little Skybound fun for you next week. That kind of thing would have made a lot of sense. And then maybe after the Skybound thing, hey, tune in next week. We'll be looking at a big, like, a big thing that we're going to open, like how they do at the end of all the videos, and how they do their silly little kind of, little like, how they did with the end of this video, the Rattler unboxing, all the kind of like attempts to try and like give us as much information without saying the words as possible. But yeah. Paul says they're probably down to a squirrel living in a tree outside of Hasbro HQ to do social media now that they've laid off everyone else. Do you know what? I think there's a lot to be said about that. I think I would go as far as to say, I don't think you're too far off on that one, Paul. I think there's definitely a situation here where they have probably cut too many people in order to keep that kind of aspect of the company smoothly operating. I think that genuinely is a good shout, honestly. But I certainly don't blame Emily and Lenny for any of that. They're the blooming creative, and Emily's on like about 50 brands, so I wouldn't, necessarily blame them for any of that stuff. But in any case, I definitely think way more communication has to. And the other thing you'll notice is when Emily was on the brand before, there was a lot of communication. If you go back to, I mean, just when she started, like from that moment all the way until she kind of actually left social media for a little bit before she returned again, um, she was very often responding, posting information, especially after little situations like this. I just wonder if they're spread thin at this point. That's what I think is happening here. But yeah, and in any case, Overwatch 2. This is what I actually came to talk about for this point anyway, the video. But here is where we got the official trailer, which dropped, kind of revealing G.I. Joe in Overwatch 2 as a collaborative kind of venture. They're utilizing certain characters as skins for other characters in their game. As we mentioned on something, the Newsburst Extra dropped last week. We knew that Snake Eyes was going to be a Genji skin, but as you can see here, Reaper is the Overwatch 2 character. They will be able to get the Cobra Commander kind of like skin for this particular crossover. And again, Overwatch 2 free to play. You can kind of download it pretty much on all different sorts of platforms. And it is like a open world. It's like an open shooter kind of like team kind of thing. You can jump in at any point and all that kind of stuff. I don't know the details with regards to how you can access the Joe stuff. It's probably pretty simple if you're on Overwatch 2. But we'll have to see what we. Anyway, Reaper is Cobra Commander. Doomfist is Destro. They all seem to kind of like line up nicely. And there was an interview that I'll get to in a second that they did kind of say in that that some of the characters kind of lent themselves nicely to a lot of the G.I. Joe characters. Genji is a ninja, obviously made sense for Snake Eyes. But obviously Doomfist for Destro is kind of cool. Kind of looks like he's created that massive fist, Kitty said, at Mars. How's he lift that bugger anyway? And then, of course, we've got the Widowmaker as Baroness, which is kind of cool. And she came in upside down to try and shoot Snake Eyes. Also, there was another thing that was mentioned with the weapons. Obviously, they've tried to keep the classic Overwatch weapons, and they've kind of basically given them slight makeovers, I would say, to give that sort of like G.I. Joe kind of like flair. Or Cobra flare in this particular case here with Baroness's sniper rifle. But yeah, again, makes sense for both characters and seems to kind of work very nicely. And then we have Freya as Scarlet, who's got wings in this one, because I think Freya's got wings as well. So kind of interesting that you've got Scarlet in mainly looking like Scarlet, but then with these kind of cool, crazy wings. Now, and then, of course, we've got Genji as Snake Eyes. And Snake Eyes is a pretty sort of, I don't want to use the term evergreen, but that's sort of what it is at the moment. It's like there's a materials kind of package that Hasbro, Kitty said, that Hasbro gives to other companies that are working on licenses and what have you, so that they can either kind of, they can use the kind of materials and stick close to like certain designs. And a lot of the designs in that kind of like evergreen sort of situation at the moment are those original classified designs. So if we look at Cobra Commander, they've given him a little bit of flair. They've changed him up ever so slightly. It's not just your standard kind of Cobra Commander, but there's the definite like hint of maybe they were looking at the Regal Cobra Commander, especially for the deco as well on that one. Then you look at Destro. Destro's been pretty much Destro the entire time, but you've definitely got some classified elements going on there, the kind of padded red collar and all that kind of situation. You know, even like down to some of the details, like the belt and the thigh strap and everything, all very indicative of that classified Destro. Even though, like I just said, Destro kind of looks like Destro, no matter how you play it. And then Baroness, not the best image to kind of make a decision on here because you can't really see a lot, but the shoulder pads and all the other kind of bits and bobs, it's definitely again classified coded. If they'd have given her purple hair tips, Kitty said, then we'd have been in Operation Blackout territory, and they probably didn't want to do that. Freya, so Freya is Scarlet, very much like the classified Scarlet, that first classified Scarlet, and to a degree, actually, it's not far off the retro one now. But she's got the, I mean, in terms of the head design and the hair, very, very classified, the early version Scarlet kind of vibes, but with wings. And then, of course, like I said, Snake Eyes has got very close. It's like they just got that retail version of the first classified Snake Eyes, the deluxe version that is all black, and then put the Genji stuff on it. Thanos, if you don't like it, mate, you can move on. How's that? If you don't want to watch this bit, turn it off. Come back later. Why are you in such a rush? Okay. So yeah, Genji, Snake Eyes. Like I said, very much a slight tweak on that kind of classic classified now version 1 Snake Eyes. And a big sword. Now it does have a little bit of like the sort of similar flair to the sword that he has in classified in the handle, but it's massive and it's ridiculous. So I think it's a little bit of kind of like a mutated version of that for Overwatch. And here's a shot of all of them just going at it. Fun times. I was actually hoping I'd caught another good shot of the Baroness so we could see what design she would, but yeah, it's going to be about the same thing. And you can check out the trailer as well and the interview in link in the description as well. So that will be available July the 1st. And what is that? Monday, Tuesday? I think that's Tuesday. So that'll be when it's Yojoe is available to access on Overwatch 2. So go nuts on Tuesday. For now, you can just enjoy me talking about it, right, guys? And then we had Rich from Wizards of the Coast, the digital content manager and creative lead at Wizards of the Coast, chatting to Dion Rogers, the art director at Blizzard. And basically, we didn't, I mean, there was a lot of, like I said, it was a surface area interview. It was nice. It was pleasant. They didn't get into like tons and tons of details, but they did talk a lot about some of the concept aspects and some of that stuff about kind of how they design stuff going into this particular scenario with Overwatch in mind, but then with G.I. Joe, kind of like fused into it and what have you. Here is a bit of key art they mentioned. I don't know what this is going to be used in. Maybe we'll have to see, won't we? But very nice artwork. They didn't they didn't credit who'd done this artwork though. So it's usually one of those situations where it's been done in-house, and unfortunately the artist who's like done a lot of work over it for months and months does not get the credit for it, unfortunately. But it's very nice, very, very cool indeed. And yeah, I like it. They also dropped a few concept slides as well, talking about Snake Eyes here. And again, you can see that kind of design influence effectively. Just a few different upgrades to that original classified Snake Eyes. And the weapons are kind of cool, actually. You can see the sword is very much just a big version of that classified sword with a little bit of extra sort of like flourish on the sheath there. You've also got a cool knife and a crazy 3 like bladed ninja star thing, which is pretty dope. The Baroness, here we go. Here's a Baroness shot. We can actually see in full here the design of the Baroness, and again, same kind of principle. So they did drop these, which are kind of cool. And then they also talked about the weapons as well, and this is another weapon that is going to be an Overwatch. It's Overwatch, but then has that kind of G.I. Joe sort of like element like attached to it or added to it. So it looks like we've got like a little sort of like snake vibe going on this one with the Cobra, I'm guessing. Anyway, that front of that gun looks like the tongue sticking out of it a little bit, but this is, I think, what the Baroness was firing as a sniper rifle. It even extends. Look at that, guys. It's an extender. And then that's pretty much that. So I think we can get into what you wanted me to get into in the first place now. The next section, which is, what is it? Oh, it's the Rattler unboxing. But before that, should we have a little message from our sponsor? I'm so doing this right now. There you go. So that was pretty much all Overwatch we just talked about, and that's the Battle Action Force Treasury editions, by the way. If you want them, you can get them in the US at skeletron.com, and if you're in the UK and Europe, you can get them from totaltoybooks.com. Cool. Right then, so following the Overwatch video, I will tell you this is a funny story though. It's not a funny story. When I was waiting for the videos to come up and the Overwatch one popped up, I'm like, cool. So I click on it. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. It's not an unboxing for a Rattler. And I thought, that's weird. I wonder if this is the only thing they dropped today. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, you know, sometimes I get stuff wrong. And and then as I'm watching it, I must have been like, because I looked at it, it must have been up for like a minute. I started watching it straight away. And then I wasn't really that long into it when I got a message with a Rattler unboxing video. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I had to stop the Overwatch one to watch the Rattler unboxing just in case. Because the thing is, with these unboxings, they've even done it in the past, or with these sort of videos, you kind of do expect a name only, a digital render, even something like that a little bit sometimes. Or a little drop at the end. But obviously what they were dropping at the end was a tease to the HASLab. Now, I misread the title of the video and thought it said, and HASLab reveal. Right, and I didn't see that it was on the next line, plus new tease. So I'm thinking it's going to be like an actual full-on reveal. So I'm like, damn. And then I got nervous because it's a video. It's not live. It's a video. So I was kind of like skipping ahead a little bit just to see. I was like, oh my God, I'll watch the unboxing later. I need to know if they're revealing whatever they're revealing at the end. So I want to know what it is. I get to the end and I see, you kind of, when you do the buffer and you see the little image on the bottom of the screen moving and you're seeing like graphics or what have you. And I'm like, getting to the end and like, there's still no like video or anything like that. I'm like, I wonder what. So I stopped it, and then I'd stop at the point where Emily's joking about the HASLab, the cool, the frosty, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, so it's just another tease. And then she said next week. And I'm like, okay, cool. I can relax now. I can just watch these videos and chill a little bit. So I did. I managed to watch them and chill out. Get it? But anyway, let's focus first on the actual unboxing, and then we'll get into the HASLab section, because this episode is multiple parts, and you can skip to whatever part you want after the fact in your own time. Just FYI, by the way, guys. So first of all, the box that it comes in is incredible. Kitty said. You got this Cobra Airborne logo on the main section here. You got this lovely orange and blue, which I think is very, very kind of sexy. I do like that color scheme. I'm not sure how much it screams Rattler though, but it's obviously the blue does. And again, it is a phase of like a dark orange to a like yellow, so it's not necessarily just all orange. I think it works as a color scheme. But, and again, I suppose you could think of it as like explosions and fire and the heat of the engine, the afterburners sort of thing. So there's definitely a connectivity there. I think it was just hearing it out loud when Lenny said the blue and the orange is really cool. And I'm like, yeah, but do I really relate that to a Rattler? But I kind of do, in a sense, now that I've kind of talked it out on this particular on this particular segment. Anyway, box is gorgeous. Love that logo. And the patch is down there in the bottom left as well. And then we get the artwork on there as well, which is phenomenal. Did they say who did the artwork? I don't remember. I don't recall them calling out the artist. I don't think they did. They talked about the art in detail, but I don't remember if they mentioned the artist. Please let me know if they did. They did say it's a carry-on almost narrative in narrative terms to the Dragonfly. But yeah, and so I was just assuming when they mentioned that, I wonder if they mean she did mention a name. Damn it, I was not paying attention. I should have listened. Can someone please do me a favor? Just find out quickly what that name was, because I don't recall. I just did not recall her saying it. Yes, there were red shadow logos in the decals, but they've done that on. They did it on the Hiss tank, didn't they? As well, I want to say. But yeah, that they've just kind of done that again, I think. Or they showed the decals. Excuse me. They showed the decals off previously, possibly. But we've definitely had. They've definitely done red shadow sort of logo details in the past for sure. Yeah, Sean says Emily mentioned a name. Let me know what that name is, please, because I can't. I do not recall a name for the artist that they said. I was kind of assuming Oliver Barrett for a second, especially when she was talking about the narrative follow-on from the Dragonfly. But I definitely missed any sort of artist name in that one. My apologies as well, because I was listening out for it too, so I've really screwed the pooch on that one if she did mention a name. But it's as you swing around the box. Lenny said he did it when they were showing the blueprint image. But wasn't he talking about the blueprint design, not the artwork on the box? The only name I remember them talking about was Mark, the copywriter. But again, if you can give me the name, that would be brilliant, guys. If you could say a name, that'd be awesome. So, yeah, you got this kind of like cool design on the bombs here, which I didn't get a great image of. Sorry about that. I thought I'd got a much better image, but he was moving it around as I took the picture, as I got that screenshot. Effectively though, it's just a bunch of bombs with cool like skull explosions. It kind of looks like the Atomic Arcade logo, doesn't it? That's kind of funny. And then of course we have the sort of like I guess this is sort of like the actual. Is this a render on the front? I guess this is the render element, but it could just be artwork still. It's just really, really good. But again, it could very well just be the artwork, and it looks phenomenal. Very nice indeed. Bombing some sort of like facility or whatever, some enemy facility, and all three Rattlers kind of look pretty dope on there too. What's even crazier is, oh, Julie did such a good job in relation to the package, says Sean. Well, that's package design. We know that. So Julie is on package design. Thank you for at least getting me a name on that. Unless she meant Julie did a good job on the artwork. Really want to know who the artist is now. I'm just going to ask. I'm just going to send a message in a second. In any case, we've got a name at least. Julie's been named. But it says, all I could hear is what I saw. They were making sounds, but the eyes had priority over hearing words and names. True. They did use the Havoc out in the snow at the beginning of the Sunbow movie. They could be tricking us as Paisano. I doubt it, mate. We'll get there in a second, though. I'm pretty. I mean, they talked a lot about cats, so I doubt that very much. And then this is really cool. This is like, again, they've done this on all of the HasLabs so far. This sort of like schematic kind of design on the back to show the vehicle with all the ordnance and all the extras and all the parts that you get with it. And I love that shot in the bottom right of the kind of orange sunset and the Rattler silhouette, kind of like filling it with the ladder on there and everything. Very cool indeed. Love it. And then they open the actual box and we get this really cool Cobra design on the edge of the boxes in the interior. So you get this kind of like cool combined image of a Cobra head, which is kind of cool. They've done that in a few different places really, on this packaging and on their figure packaging, which they've done again with the HasLab multiple times in the past. Here we get the decals, and as you can see very clearly then the middle up and to the left a bit, second down from the middle to the left, left is the Palatoy Red Shadows logos, which is kind of cool. So we can have Red Shadow Rattlers, which is pretty dope, I would say. The box is gorgeous, Evan. Indeed, it is. Paul says too much of a swerve, and all the talk about cats. Definitely a snow cat, no doubt. Well, I guess we'll get to that in a second. But yes, again, very cool. They also he's also put in a warthog livery in there as well, and he says if you know, you know. And obviously, he's talking about the fact that the Rattler is a semi-inspired, well, mainly inspired, I would say, by an A10 Warthog tank buster. But not completely, obviously, because obviously the A10 is not a V-stall and it does not have flip wings that do that and then take off. So, but it is, yeah, obviously most people are aware, and of course the engines are not on the wings; they're on the back too. Either way, it's very much an A10, isn't it? In its sort of like in its vibe. So they've thrown in Warthog tampos for that, which is really cool. But again, lots of cool decals, and that really you got the Baroness riding the bomb, the kind of like the pin-up Baroness kind of style, also firing a rifle at the same time because she's badass. And then you've got Cobra Commander on a horse with a jousting lance, which is kind of cool. And I think Lenny even mentioned he wants that on like a t-shirt or something. Bad Wolf says, I love the Rattler, but ain't no Warthog, but the Warthog. That's a good point too, actually. Very good point. Unless they decide they hate water vehicles for whatever reason, Moray is the obvious choice for Cobra next year, says Bias One. Well, not next year, be the... Oh, no, I suppose it would be, yeah, because now we're in this year, which is going to be the Joe one. Yeah, so it would be next year. You're right. I stand corrected, or I sit corrected. Yeah. Question for the group: does this not include me, Twisted, or does it include me? Do you all use the decals, or does it depend on if you have multiples? Personally, for me, I do not. I only use one set of usually whatever it looks like when it comes out of the box, honestly. And if there are any decals that go on it, it's ones that are the standard issue default sort of vibe. That's just me, really. If I were to get more, which is never going to happen with a HasLab, I'm never going to get more than one when it comes to a HasLab. It's just not. I'd love to, but no. It would require a lot more space and money. But yeah, I definitely, if I was getting more than one, yes, I'd start like delving into the decals. But I don't necessarily do so in general, to be fair. Then we've got the guys, the most important part, and I'm happy that they're in there, the patches. Yeah, get in. So we got the patches. That's the main thing. Everything else is sort of like secondary to this. To this. I love that people think I'm serious when I talk about the patches in this way. But at the same time, I don't think a lot of people can get humor or sarcasm. So that's on them, really, at the end of the day. Either way, I do actually love these patches. But would I have preferred an action figure? Yeah, I most probably would. Do I also understand why it was done? Yes, because I'm not an idiot. But at the same time, yeah, there you go, patches. I love the fact that Lenny was really pushing the vibe, and this actually does work on people like me. The vibe of it's on the figure, so therefore it's now real. Like you've got like it's on the figure, but then obviously you've got a real version of it, and it's like, oh, cool. Like so. Yeah, it's got like an extra level to it when those patches exist in reality. But yeah. And then of course we have the actual figures, which I was really excited to see. And then Lenny kept saying during the video, but we're not going to unbox these or show these off. He kept saying it. And then as he was taking them out to unbox them and show them off, which I thought was kind of funny. And I think like last time when they did the Dragonfly unboxing, I think they spent a long time on the figures. But it's kind of what people are into. Like people want to see the figures as well as the vehicle, of course. But yeah, like is what it is. he still showed them off, which was cool. But I kind of had that little bit of like, oh, like especially when he said, I'm not going to take it out. I'm just going to, we don't really have time, and I want to get into the vehicle. And I was like, oh, I kind of want to see those figures. And at least, we did get to see them. So it's mute point at the end of the day. Here he is, his wild weasel out of the box, but still in his plastic prison. And here's Lenny pointing at stuff. Straps, I believe he's pointing at there. So you can actually have the maps or the straps, depending on what you want on the legs, on the old thighs. But yeah, smart for them to incorporate the patches on the figures. Yeah, that's what I thought, Medic. Again, it's like a definite like marketing ploy, that, isn't it? Or like, but also not. It's just fun. Chris G says, I bought a brand new bomber jacket in blue for the patches. I like that a lot. That's a great shout. Jokes aside, I like the patches, says Ted. Never jokes aside. Jokes constantly down the middle. But yeah, you're right. They're cool. Stanley says the stream was one take. He was on the clock. Take your time, Lenny. Exactly. Did they fix the map orientation? You can put them in whatever way you want. So the orientation's up to you. It's not a fix. It's just you can put them in whatever way round you want. Oh, they didn't say who did the artwork. They just mentioned the design team. I thought that was the case. Thank you anyway for checking, Andrew. I appreciate it. Art on the side looks amazing. Yes, it does. We'll get to that too in a sec. Does Wild Weasel have any of the patches? I think it's one on each, isn't it? Basically. So here's the figures lined up next to each other with the artwork, and this is great. These look phenomenal. I love that. That's a really nice touch to make that artwork on all three boxes kind of line up. Again, they've done it in the past. It's nothing new, but it looks really good, and I'm into that a lot. That's great. Great for display, that one. And then, of course, we get into some shots that I hadn't seen before. Not all of them. There was some of them that they were reusing from the campaign. But some came up and I was like, oh, I don't think I've seen that one before. This Baroness one I don't recall seeing. What's funny is I've definitely done my back in recently, the last couple of days. My lower back is killing me. So I tend to be pulling this pose quite a lot that the Baroness is posing with the last couple of days. I've been like kind of going, yep, I feel it, definitely. And we're about the same age now, me and the Baroness. So yeah, she's probably feeling it as well. Although she's in better condition than I ever will be, ever have been, or ever could be. S. Myers says, man, no one does packaging like the Joe team, just outstanding. It's actually, that's a good point. They have some of the highest highs with packaging, with artwork, with design, and they're not all wins. Let's face it, they're not all like completely amazing. But in terms of some of the packaging that they've produced for the Classified series, it is god tier. It's beautiful. I mean, look, the exclusive packaging for a start is absolutely out of this world. They go above and beyond in that sense. But yeah, I think it's not always the case, like for every single release. I mean, we just had a long conversation in the last couple of months about the retro card art and that kind of stuff, and how that's kind of been a little bit. But like in terms of some of the, like, again, exclusive packaging, some of the old stuff where they would have different artists working on the brand, on each kind of figure, that was kind of fun, man, for a bit. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed having all these different artists takes and variations and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was really dope. Anyway, here's a Baroness holding a lower back because yeah, I feel it. I feel your Baroness in that one. Here she is just taking the shades off. And I think one of the reasons they were showing some of these images was Emily was talking about how much she liked her hair. And here is the Baroness, multiple different hairstyles. And here she is in the box. Again, there's a good amount of accessories with each figure too, like lots of different bits and pieces. Again, are we honestly using a lot of all of it? Probably not. But at the same time, it's good to have those options. And again, like, one person is going to have a different like default user. You're going to have a different kind of experience than the other person next to you. They're going to have a different way of doing things. So it's good to have those different options for sure. Lenny seemed super proud of how she turned out. The face sculpt looked great on the video. Yep, absolutely. I have to agree with that. And the early run with the different artists was amazing. Felt like that got nixed by the bean counters. I have a feeling that was the case as well, S. Myers. I think one of the issues was the way that the packaging was just changing constantly. It was like, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that, and now we're going to do this. And it just seemed to be like every single time there was a fan stream, a new wave, it was a different type of packaging. It was crazy. And all of the kind of like, we're going to be, no plastic, and then plastic comes back, and it's just like, it's all over the place. But within all of those different types and styles of packaging, there are some really, really good designs, artwork, layouts, whatever. It's kind of some, like I said, some real top level stuff across the board of classified packaging. Here's the gunner. Excuse me. Again, I think I've seen this image before actually, but I just put it up here because it was just another signpost in the video. And here is the gunner out of box. Again, a cool figure. Again, you're talking about effectively an army builder, really. A troop builder, which is difficult in HasLabs, don't get me wrong. I think it would have been kind of cool if they'd have thrown in 2 of these, just so that you had one with a different head, different heads on each one. Not same packaging, but like just packaged differently, so that you had 2 of them from the get-go, and then you've got your 4 figures in a sense. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know how practical or cost effective that would have been. Anyway, probably not. But hopefully there can be a re-release, definitely, in a different deco. Chucky Tinderbin, maybe a Python gunner. But that would make noise. Well, that you'd be a G.I. Joe. You'd be in no. You'd be in a Python. Did they do a Python friggin' Rattler? They did a Tiger Rat. I can't. Has there been precedent for a Python Rattler? Now I want to know, because I can't recall. I'm thinking as well, like a little bit later on in like the modern era. Let's look at what I can at least look at. Let's try that. I don't think there has been. We've got Autobot Power Glide, the Tiger Rat. Yeah, I don't think there's never really been. No, there's never been a Python Rattler. Anyway, Python gunner then. I know there's been a Python Conquest, but I'm talking about the Rattler. The Rattler. So yeah, my thought process there, guys, was that we could get a Python Hiss gunner and Python, what are they called? Rattler gunner. But then I thought, well, only if there's a Pythonized Rattler would that make sense. And then I thought, but there's never been a Pythonized Rattler. And then I thought, oh, or has there been? And I've just forgotten. So I'm fully aware that there's a Python Conquest, but that wasn't where my brain was going at that point. I was trying to work out what Rattlers we'd had in the past. Crimson Gunner, says Chucky Tinderbin. Okay, now we're talking. That would slot nicely into the Crimson side of things for sure. Coolsies. And then here's some more shots of the Rattler gunner getting out the old gunner position. Then we saw the Baroness's gold shoes, or the gold bottoms of her shoes. That's very cool as well. It's like almost like, I know, like Louboutin have like the red sole or the red soles, don't they? So this is almost like a flex on that to a degree. The Baroness is like so expensive. She's also rich. She's got her own shoe line, and it's gold bottomed, which is kind of fun. And as a figure, I think she looks phenomenal. And this is one. I mean, if we can't all agree that this is the basis of what is surely to be some sort of mass device Baroness, then I don't know what we're all smoking, because I think this is 100% the basis for that version 1 of the kind of mass device comic Baroness, in that kind of bright blue with the yellow bits. I think that's probably what we're going to get at some point, maybe on a retro card. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah. There was a copper Rattler during the pre-Valor versus Venom line. That's true, actually, Figure Six Back. You're right. There was a copper Rattler. Does that count? Copper Gunner. Yeah, there you go. Do you think they will put her on a retro card again or in a box, says Chucky? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking a retro would work nice for some sort of mass device Baroness. Or maybe they do that as like a Target exclusive, considering, we've had Divers and what's his name? Breaker. Maybe they'll return to the mass device for Target. Who knows? Why does Chris know Louboutins have red soles? I thought it was common knowledge. I could just be letting myself in for one there. Bayer says, Lenny showed the drawing that shows the Sunbow design is under the vest. Oh, yeah, true. Comic Baroness and Cobra Commander with hood would be fun, says Childish Landino. I think the hooded Cobra Commander, I think we're going to see it. I'm gonna go out on a limb. And by the way, I don't know. I will say that very clearly. I'll tell you if I know something, or I'll just won't talk about it. And in this case, this is a guess. I think, based on some knowledge, but I think the hooded Cobra Commander is probably going to happen at some point in the future. I don't see that not happen. I think it'll happen, personally. Mark my words. Just like you marked my words for the Rattler unboxing, which I actually did know was coming, but I didn't know that. I don't know anything about hooded Cobra Commander. Badwell says, don't worry about it, Chris, because I know how to spell Louboutin too. So there you go. I should have said that. I should have pulled that one out when Kitty said, when you mentioned that. I said, oh, you spelt it correctly. And then you'd be like, how do you know it's spelled correctly? And then we'd just gone back and forth like that. And then I'd have walked off in my Louboutins. Anyway, yeah, Rob V's like, hooded Cobra Commander confirmed. No, but I definitely think it's going to happen at some point. It's just one of those things. It's one of those feelings. I can feel it in my water. And then again, here's another shot of the Baroness. I do very much dig this figure. I think she looks cool. This is a really cool thing, which I do remember seeing way back when they revealed the whole thing and what have you. But I completely forgot about the bomb with all the little ball bearings in it, which is a bit dark, but also kind of cool that they've done that for this particular figure, and it rattles and everything. So that was kind of neat. And then you look at the ordnance that it comes with, and you're like, damn, I'm probably going to use a lot of the decals and stuff on those bombs and what have you. So some of that will probably get put on there. But my God, they look kind of crazy. That it's such a good dio, this shot, isn't it? With like, them laying on like sandbags and burlap sack material and pallets and all sorts. It's kind of cool. They've done a really good job with this one. Yeah, like a rattlesnake, indeed, RKW. On the Transformers stream yesterday, they did say they're open to make the controversial bots from Revenge of the Fallen. Oh my God. Wow. Can't wait for that. I can wait for that, actually, Charles. I haven't seen that. I do try and catch all the other brand streams when I can, but I haven't had a chance to see the Transformers one yet. I saw all the pre-orders and everything that came out of it, but I didn't see the actual stream, so I will watch that later. Chris G says, cluster munitions, super illegal. Go Cobra. Indeed. Yeah, cool. Blitz says, I didn't even pick up on that diorama detail. What you mean, like all like the burlap sacks and pallets and all that kind of stuff? It's really cool. Like they've gone to town on that one for seriously. It's brilliant. It's one of my favorite dios because it's very much like you could get that wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like you could do this, put some stuff together, and it could be like, this isn't working, but that works for me. That looks so good. And then of course we had a look inside Thengens. That's the engines for those that aren't aware. And Lenny was very excited about the details on those particular turbines. And they did joke and say that they have, someone that knows planes would probably be like, that wire doesn't go there. And they'd probably be right. But yeah, looks very cool, very detailed. Although I think Lenny was saying that he wanted to have certain aspects of the turbines separately, in separate moldings, basically, so they could have like everything would be like separate pieces stuck together in different colors. And in the end, they just went for deco, which again is cheaper and makes sense, and it still looks good. So I'm kind of fine with that. But it would have been nice, wouldn't it, if it had been like certain aspects of it, you could kind of like pull some of the wires out. Like the wires would be kind of loose. That would be kind of cool. Little buttons that stuck out that was separate, from the actual section itself would be kind of neat. But anyway, still looks good. And then the thrusters, which have a sort of purple hue on them, which Lenny was talking about when the engines are going, it leaves that sort of like burn mark, basically, similar to what the Battle Android Trooper has, the retro one, on their kind of little laser, the little blasters. Then we have a shot here of the gunner position. He did open this up. He put the gunner in there, and it looked really cool. And this part was him explaining that you take that front section of the cockpit off separately, and you pop that in when you pop the lid down, so it kind of like all makes sense, basically. Oh, that's a good point. They didn't show the lighting features. Good shout there, Thanos. They didn't show the lighting features. They talked about them, but they didn't actually show them. That is a very good point. So maybe we'll get like a video or some sort of like social post of the lighting at some stage. But that was one of those things where I was kind of like, I'm surprised they didn't do that. But yeah, anyway, so they're in the cockpit showing that, showed all the features, all the wings and everything here, the tilt aspect. Now these are the tilt is on buttons, so you press a button to enable it to tilt. It doesn't automatically tilt when you press the button, if that makes sense. It's just like unlocking the system with which to tilt the wings. And then there's another button underneath the wing that you can press, that then the wing pulls out and then goes up like so. Which again they kind of showed, but they couldn't show the detail because of the way the cameras were and everything. But again, we get to see, the situation where it's like, right, how are we going to store this if we don't have the space? Probably like this, with the old wings up like so. On the side there, you can see that panel. He removed the standard panel, and underneath was that sort of like perspex panel. Now in there is a lighting feature that makes it look like things are on fire, they've just been hit, especially when you put that damaged panel on there. It really comes through the damaged panel and makes it look like they've been actually shot at with real ammunition, which is kind of cool as well. Has anyone seen, by the way, the new series of Love, Death, Robots on Netflix? The only reason it springs to mind right now is because we're talking about these planes with gunner positions and all that kind of stuff in it. There is a crazy one. I can't remember what it's called. It's something, Somebody Found Religion or something. And effectively, it is a World War II bomber that's supposed to be doing some sort of like, bombing mission. And they basically they hit a church, which in the church, they're trying to basically draw this demon out of this kind of pit. And then the demon attacks the plane. It is crazy. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. It is incredible. So go check out Love, Death, Robots on Netflix. It's the newest series. I just watch it anyway. It's brilliant. I just got here. Did Chris talk about Mercer in the background yet? What? Sith Viper 77? Where's Mercer in the background? I didn't see Mercer in the background. I missed that completely. Can you give me a bit more information, or are you just poking fun? Because I didn't see Mercer in any background. Here is the panel with the damage on it. And again, with that light feature underneath, that's going to look so cool. But we didn't get to see it, did we? Because they didn't bring any batteries. I'm gonna tell them off for that. And here we have, and this is a shot I don't remember seeing, of Wild Weasel like checking the bullet holes and everything, and it's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And yeah, again, I don't remember seeing this particular image. Phenomenal stuff. And then this shot, I just wanted to get a couple of shots of the actual stand as well, which has a little drawer on it. Very nice flight stand, I've got to admit. And again, for all those little extras, you can throw some stuff in the background. Toy says there was a brief wide shot where you could see in the background there was a figure back there. No. How did I miss that? I am so annoyed. I'm going to watch the entire video now with you guys on here. And I'm going to be like, okay, where is it? It's only an hour long, right? Watch it again in full. Damn it. I do not recall that. When you say wide shot, you mean like when they went to the kind of angle and showed everything? How did they sneak Mercer in there without me seeing? Probably because I wasn't paying full attention. Do you know roughly when it happened in the... do you remember roughly when it happened in the video? Because that's the most annoying thing ever that I didn't see that. And I want to find it now so that I can then show it on screen and at least cover the bases of, there he is. Where would he even be? Was he on was he on the table that they were at? Was he literally on the table or not? This is crazy. I can't believe I'm doing this live. I'm not seeing him. Where is he? And he just shows up briefly. That's it. He doesn't like. Oh, was that it? Oh, I saw him. I'm okay. I found him. Can I zoom in on that? I can. Oh, that's amazing. That's so funny. There he is. There he is. Thanks, guys, for pointing that out. I never, ever would have noticed that. That's so funny. Brilliant. So that's 3141 I've got on here. Arcade says 3140 looks like Monkey Wrench. No, it's Mercer for sure. That blue and red is unmistakable. Yeah. With his backpack. He's in the same pose as well, I think, that he was in when almost looks like he's wearing a blooming... He's like wearing the beret that comes with the pack as well. Do you see what I'm saying? Kind of looks like he's wearing the beret that comes with that that pack, even though that's for the Sarge. Or maybe it's for both. Who cares? Yeah, 3140. Amazing. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. I can't believe... Well, I can believe because I was mainly listening to it as I was doing other things. But that's brilliant. Don't have an image of it, though, which sucks. Here's imagine if I did. If we go through and there's another image here and it's there. That's not going to happen, though. Here is the blast effects being put on the gunner position. Here is the Rattler in sort of like diving kind of angle on the stand. Obviously, you can spin it around and it can be going up a little bit. There you go. And again, more blast effects in that machine gun at the front, that crazy nose gun, and then the ladder, which is a nice touch. And then also the other ladder, which goes up on the wing, which Lenny was kind of showing us. Even though he put like a big missile there, which kind of got in the way, you can put the ladder up on the wing and have people working and operating on that wing, which is kind of cool. I like that a lot. And then here is an example of patch in real life versus patch on figure. So the fly swatter patch is on the gunner. Here is the gunner with his pilot helmet and kind of rebreather on. The Baroness, as Emily was commenting on her bangs, Kitty said. The Baroness again. And this is the... our Wild Weasel has damage parts as well, Kitty said, because of that issue. And they talked about this too, which is kind of fun. The issue in the Marvel series where Ace and Wild Weasel have a dogfight above New Jersey, which was jokingly referred to in that particular unboxing. And in that kind of dogfight, they both get kind of destroyed almost, but not downed. And obviously the damage is caused to Wild Weasel's helmet and face mask and everything. So they gave him 2 different rebreather kind of face mask parts. One is nice and clean, and the other one's a little bit dirty and scratched. You can't really tell that well on here. Shakedown, yes, that Diana is the name of the story. And if you look at I think it's the one on the right hand side as you look at it, is the one that is the damaged kind of like war torn version. One on the left as you look at the screen in Lenny's right hand, just to confuse you all, is the nice clean regular version. And here is the damaged Wild Weasel incomplete, like the damaged helmet, the damaged face mask and everything. There you go. Yeah, by doing that damaged face mask, they now have to do a classified Sky Striker, says toys equals midlife crisis squared. And I agree. I feel like they've backed themselves into that corner now. We have to have Ace with damaged helmet as well as a Sky Striker, please and thank you very much. And then Baroness again with the headset on this time and all kind of geared up. And another shot of the Baroness. What Baroness shots in here? Another shot of the Baroness with the pilot helmet on as well. And then this is the patch that the Baroness has on. She has Fearsome Fangs CFC 06 or Z06 Tank Smashers, which has got the Mauler on it, which I think at the time we all thought, well, that's going to be the Mauler next, isn't it? I think a lot of people thought this was foreshadowing a G.I. Joe tank. And I think now we can probably change our perspective on that one because we've been given some hints to the next HasLab, which we'll talk about next. One more shot of the Baroness here in a different, with the glasses and the different hair. And now we are at the G.I. Joe Classified Series HasLab. Again, they gave another very similar hint as to what we can expect. We got the snowy background, which insinuated some sort of Arctic. A lot of people were saying, well, it could be the Havoc that was at the beginning of the G.I. Joe, the Action Force movie, the animated one that, you know, was set in the Himalayas at the start. And I think there's a shout in there, definitely. But with all the other kind of cat references they kept mentioning and all that kind of stuff, it's pretty clear that what they're trying to tell us, and that is that we're getting a HasLab Snowcat. Now we've talked about this already. Definitely, we talked about it as a possibility when Emily first started talking about cold and frosty and what have you. But in this case, I think we are 100% getting this. I think the questions are going to be like, what figures are we likely to have? I didn't get any images up because I'm just going to probably talk it through. But in terms of what we've kind of come to expect here, I think we can expect, especially with like a Snowcat's not going to be as big as a Rattler, let's face it. So I think they can probably go to 3 extra tier figures with the figure in the base. So obviously Frostbite's probably more than likely going to come with that Snowcat. I would be color me surprised if it's anyone other than Frostbite driving that Snowcat at the base level. At that base level, you're probably going to get the Snowcat, which is going to be large, ain't going to be small. It's going to be kind of comparable to the Hiss tank in most ways, if not a bit longer and possibly a bit wider, or maybe about the same width, because the Hiss tank was given a bit more girth, wasn't it, to fit figures in as like a little troop carrier. They could do the same with the Snowcat, by the way, which would be freaking amazing if they did a little troop carrier section on this bad boy. Wow. I'd be amazed. I'm not necessarily expecting it, but now I want it. I don't think we're not gonna get figures that are gonna show up in retail scenarios or exclusive scenarios. It's not gonna happen. We're gonna get characters that are more than likely not going to see the light of day other than a HasLab. So I think you're probably more likely to see sort of like characters that have winter jackets that we already have, you know, versions for. I could see like a winter jacket sort of Duke or Scarlet or Jay, those kind of things, right? Those kind of elements. So I think one tier is going to be a winter jacket toting character that we've had in the past. On top of that, I think they do some sort of Well, I was going to say like a steel core sort of like snow trooper sort of thing, but it's actually more likely that they veer away from that because they didn't do that with the Dragonfly, did they? We got like named characters. So I personally would absolutely cry if they did Tiger Force Blizzard. We don't have a Blizzard yet, but that would be a cool pre-paint, knowing that another Blizzard would be coming eventually. Blizzard is a pretty cool figure, and I think that you could really definitely do a Tiger Force repaint in this scenario, seeing as there is a precedent for a Tiger Cat as well as there being a European exclusive Tiger Force Blizzard, of course, precedent. The fact that the Snowcat has the Tiger Cat as well in its, sort of like history, I could definitely see them doing Tiger Force Blizzard. So that's sort of like two of the three. And then the third one gets a little bit kind of more interesting. Are they going to go for something like Quinn, as people are saying in the comments here? An Arctic Rescue Dock would be amazing, Ryan, actually. Especially with that amazing color scheme that they did in the Pursuit of Cobra. Like, that would be freaking amazing, honestly. We're not going to get a polar battle bear as an unlock Stygian. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to do a vehicle within a vehicle. It's like, again, if they did that, color me surprised. But I just don't think that that's even possible when it comes to all the other stuff that you'd be kind of expecting. If they did do a polar battle bear, then you're probably just getting one figure as a tier addition. Do you know what I mean? Like, things have to balance out, and that would be tipping it. That would be tipping the balance. I remember a lot of people were saying that they were fully expecting a towable with the Hiss HasLab as a tier, and as cool as that sounds, I think once we saw what that towable looked like, it was like, yeah, that would have ramped the price up. But also, at some point, even if they're ramping the price up, it doesn't necessarily make sense because it's like almost like an exponential rise. There's a real balance to getting the content right of what you're selling, and then for this HasLab, and then figure out, can we do these figures and this, and this? Like, it does get like a little bit of a conundrum. But yeah, I don't know. I think Brian says, if your second theory about eventually getting a Tiger Cat, why have we not received a repaint of either Hiss Tank or Dragonfly? Are we to expect them as well? I would assume so. Like, yeah, I'd be surprised if they never used the Hiss Tank tooling ever again. Right? I would be more than surprised if they never ventured near it again. Same for the Dragonfly. I don't know if that's happening with the Dragonfly, like a Tigerfly or something, but like, could it? Probably. If you take out all of the, well, this is the thing. It would just be another price point, wouldn't it? It would be one that probably sits at around, let me think. If you're looking at like a Dragonfly without any electronics, what was it, like 274 or something? Or have I made that up? Have I done that again where I got it wrong with the Dragonfly pricing? So you'd have to be stripped down to your basic vehicle, right? Basic vehicle, not a lot of extra add-ons necessarily, but you'd have, and no electronics. So the Ghostbusters pack has just been done, hasn't it? As well, that's another good point, actually, Rob. So effectively, it's just a redeco of like the tooling could be you could do like a retool, or like one of those things where you put something in the tool that stops the plastic going into that particular section to create the what's it called, like the battery pack sort of area. So yeah, they could definitely do it, I think. Dragonfly was 275, yeah, 274.99, wasn't it? So I think you could do a Tiger Fly at maybe, it'd have to be in the upper 100s, wouldn't it? Like just under 200, maybe they could go lower than that. 150. It's my final offer. I don't know, but it would if they were going to do it, it would have to be something like that. Same with the Hiss, and same with the Snowcat. Now, in terms of you saying my, if it's my expectation or whatever, not necessarily expectation. I want them to do a Tiger Cat. I want them to do a Tiger Cat. 100%. I'm more kind of using the Tiger Cat in this particular conversation to link a Tiger Force Blizzard to the proceedings, but it's very likely we probably won't get Tiger Force Blizzard either. I'd love it if they did do that though. Please do that. But again, we'll find out next week. That's another thing. Well, we won't find out unless they. Well, yeah, we will, because they reveal all the tiers at once now, don't they? So we're going to find out next week, either Monday or Wednesday, or maybe Tuesday. Who knows? Who knows when they drop that information? But she said next week, so it could be anywhere between Monday and Friday next week. I would imagine Monday, because it's the last day of June, and they might want to keep it within the Yojoe June parameters. But we'll have to see, won't we? And then other than that, I mean, there's tons of different Arctic characters, but surely they belong in the standard form. So you kind of have to do like repaints, or you have to do something that, like a character that you just know is never, ever going to make it to regular retail. That's kind of an Arctic kind of style, like Arctic DJ, for example. Which is funny because DJ is already kind of white and blue anyway, but let's do Arctic DJ anyway. But there's I don't know, who would you have? That's another thing. Who do you guys want to see? I've seen Avalanche mentioned as well, which I thought was kind of funny, because I would assume people wouldn't want like Battle Force 2000, whether they like them or not, to be locked behind a HasLab. Airborne Customs says Ice Cream Soldier, and my God, that is a phenomenal shout. That is a phenomenal shout. Holy crap. What a fun addition. Because no one's going to want Ice Cream Soldier in the regular retail. But stick him in the Snowcat HasLab, and I think you're onto something there, Airborne's Customs. That is, Darren, that is an amazing shout. Paul says, or vehicle drivers of a vehicle they'll never make, like Wind Chill or Cold Front. Yeah, good shout. Good shout. Suppose Arctic Big Ben, says Figure Six Pack. That's a good shout. Blizzard says Checkpoint. Yeah, Blizzard would be amazing. The Dream, but again, not regular Blizzard, because I don't see, like, he would just be a regular figure. Like, there's no reason to lock him behind a HasLab unless you do, like I said before, Tiger Force Blizzard, which would be perfect. Bias says the Dream would be Arctic Quinn. Actually, do you know what? That's not a bad shout, because then you could release the regular, like the non-Arctic version of Quinn in the regular line. So that is not a bad shout, actually, either, because there's multiple versions of Quinn, technically, in that sense. Wind Chill's a good shout. I'm not reading that, Rob, but that's true. I'm not telling you from experience, but some people don't want Ice Cream Soldier in the HasLab. I think Ice Cream Soldier will be awesome, like most classy figures. Thank you, Ted. Dana's a good shout, actually, Snodrich. Especially if it was Dana from the Sunbow, where she's got the kind of like pink gear with the fluffy hat. But nothing like Dana in the comics at all. Anyway, a real old school comic figure is so long overdue, says Bias One. Yeah, just in general for classified, I think. Yeah, you're right. I think it'd be fun if they had a tier of a bunch of soft good jackets, which you could just add to any figure you have. Yeah, that's not a bad shout either, to be honest. Who's Arctic Quinn? I'm not telling. I'm slight Quinn. Unproduced Arctic Force, says Viper Scout. Not a bad shout there either. Night Force Airtight for some reason, says Ryan. That's genius. Just Under says it's a total L and hard pass for the Snowcat without seeing it yet. Okay. Chris, do you think we will get more Arctic Joes and Cobra characters next year? Probably. Crimson Cobra Commander. I really want them to give us a snow troop builder for us to use for head swaps as shelf presents. That'd be kind of fun. What about a Commandos Heroicos figure like Glenda was? Yes, Danny. I've been racking my brains, though, trying to find like a good option for that. And there aren't many like Arctic ones, especially when, like, you're talking about a lot of those kind of the, South American characters. I can't think of any that aren't just the standard figure that was released sort of thing, that didn't have like a different name or slightly different redeco or what have you. Paul says you put Ice Cream Soldier in there, and the fandom whining will make the Glenda crying seem quaint in comparison. I think there's going to be that anyway. I think you're going to see that anyway, no doubt. Arctic Charbroil to melt the snow, absolutely, Jeremy. Toys equals midlife crisis squares says Stalker V2 with canoe. Why? That's got to be a regular figure. Why would you want to hide that one behind a HasLab? I kind of feel like Stalker version 2 would be so good to do as a figure vehicle pack in, just the main line. I don't see a need to have to do Stalker version 2 in a HasLab, because he would be, I think people would want him. Sparta, I mean, yeah, as a character in in South America for sure, but like Sparta with a winter jacket, maybe. Sorry, loads of comments. I'm not going to be able to get all of them. My apologies. Would Ice Cream Soldier need to be reimagined as it's a flame-themed character? Sort of, but not, because it's really just more of a pun, isn't it, than anything else. Yeah, because he's a flamethrower trooper at the end of the day. That says they might need that. They might need that in the Arctic. Maybe you do like a winter version of him. Ted says, and like any of his gear would work as well out in the Arctic. It'd just be instantly fudged. Ted says Arctic Charbroil with the Snowcat and Tropical Blizzard with the Havoc. Amazing. Cool. Anyway, there's lots to get into here, isn't there? And I know you guys want to. We have been going for an hour and a half though, so I'm going to probably call it quits for now. I will return, of course, with lots of stuff. Let me just quickly transition out of this. We've already done our commercial for break for the day, so I'm just going to switch to single frame for the end of the video. How? So thank you very much for joining me on this news burst live. Yojoe June is coming to a close now, but we still have a HasLab reveal around the corner. That is something to be very excited about. So I guess we'll know a lot more next week when the HasLab actually gets revealed. Obviously, very likely going to be a Snowcat. I can't see it being anything else, honestly, at this point. And if it is, fair dues. They've given us the old runaround. But I think we're going to be looking at a Snowcat. I'm very excited to see what they actually do with this, what they add to it, what they, the sort of like the features, what they kind of focus on. Obviously, we're looking at lighting. I've got to see that lighting with the kind of like blue canopy down. God, I bet that looks amazing. There's going to be that, and then of course you've got all of the tier figures. Like you've got all of the different figures that we're going to have to see what they're going to be doing. Anyway, excited. Whether you have enjoyed or not enjoyed Yojoe June this year, it certainly sort of happened. So there's that. I will say there have been some slip-ups, haven't there? There have been some errors, and I think with that, I don't think it's completely ruined my enjoyment, but it's definitely been one of those ones where I'm already looking forward to next year's G.I. Joe Christmas, Yojoe June, in a hope that maybe they get a little bit more sort of like focused on the job in hand to get that stuff out to us. Either way, lots of cool stuff to get stuck into. Lots of stuff arriving as well. We've got the Rattlers now shipping. I just had like Frag Viper and Blowtorch kind of notifications, so that's fun. So yeah, great. I'll see you on the next one. Now I've got lots coming. I'll be talking to Word Burglar very soon regarding his upcoming Kickstarter campaign. Very excited about that. We've got another chat with Justin Bell regarding the animated series rumor. So I'll be talking to Justin in a little bit more detail about that. Any other news that happens this week, I'll, if I need to go live, I will. Otherwise, I'll see you on Saturday for the weekly. And I think Pat should have returned on Saturday to do that one, because I don't think there's anything in the way this week coming up. So there you go. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday evening, and a wonderful rest of your week if I don't see you until then. Stay fresh cheese bags. And as always, after 3, you know what to do. 1, 2, 3. Full force and a Yojoe.
That's it for this instalment of the Full Force News Burst. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. See you next time, and as always, full force.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. And as always, you can keep up with the show after listening by following on all of our social platforms, links in the description. And if you would like to contact the show, you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback or questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full force.